mind is a tricky monkey. It won't give up. It'll keep taking you back into your suffering nature. So you have to draw it back in. You can't stop this process. This is literally a lifelong process. Not just a lifelong, but a multi-lifespan. Each lifetime, you're taking a step and a step and a step closer to the divine until ultimately you literally realize yourself to be the supreme divinity. You know it, you feel it, you are it. All beings are within you. You are omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. With a single thought, worlds are created or destroyed. This is the nature of the divine. Divine is a huge endeavor, gigantic. You know, the things that we talk about in these gatherings are so immense that it's like surprising to even come across a place where we're actually talking about this and striving towards merging with the Supreme Being. And, you know, I say that I try to convince people, but it's more about perhaps triggering something in you that sets on fire, in which suddenly you feel this unstoppable urge to discover the truth. You can't, it's kind of like the story of Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. They were walking by the river, maybe it was the Ganges River, the Ganga, in India. Dakshineswar, it's a place where Ramakrishna was, and they were kind of walking by the river, and Swami Vivekananda, at that time his name is Narendra. Narendra speaks to his master Ramakrishna, who is a divine being, a guru, true Satguru, and asks him, I think a lot of this stuff maybe is kind of nonsense, what you're saying. Like I'm really questioning it, and I don't see how it's possible to achieve this state that you call this godlike state. And how can you do it? Pretty much was kind of the gist of the conversation, approximately. And then Ramakrishna pushes Narendra into the river, and Narendra starts to drown because he can't swim, so he's drowning in the river, and swallowing water and all this. And then Ramakrishna pulls him out of the water as he's like really hurting, struggling, and then Narendra says, you're a madman. You tried to kill me. And Vivekananda, or Ramakrishna says to his disciple, stop. Listen to me. Tell me, did it feel like when you were in the river just then? And Narendra says, all I could think of was how to save myself from drowning. And Ramakrishna says, that is the kind of desire you must have to find the truth in order to achieve what I'm speaking of. And that was a huge wake-up call for Narendra. I mean, obviously an extreme teaching, but like, I've sometimes said this, if you want to break through the madness of this mind, you can call it Maya. it's kind of like if you want to escape the gravity of Earth and go into space and float in space, you've got to have a rocket ship that has so much fuel and so much, I mean, you've seen the rocket ship and all the explosion of the fire coming out as it's going out into space. You have to have that kind of energy to take yourself out of the Maya, to break your consciousness out of this madness that has been created over hundreds of thousands of lifetimes, has been pounded into you, this idea of separation. You have to have that if you want to achieve this. Like, this is, in a way, I would say, serious business, those people who want this. I mean, and I would say probably even people who come to gatherings and who are looking for it are not interested. You know, come maybe for some entertainment. Oh, I want to experience some meditation. Oh, I want to have a floaty, blissful, loving experience, and I want my life to feel so beautiful, and I want to look spiritual, and I'm going to wear white clothes so that I can look even more spiritual, and everyone will look up to me because I'll be so peaceful. It doesn't work like that. When you're on the spiritual path, the energy strikes to the heart of your ego, and then you have to face yourself. You have to face your ego and the places where you get angry at people, where you get frustrated at people, where you get impatient at people, when you hate people, when you judge people, when you gossip about people. All the upsetness that's stored, latent, it's called samskaras or whatever, in your system, all those, one by one, will come up to challenge you like crocodiles coming out of the depth of a river. And they'll attack you. And some days, you know, you won't be able to handle it and you'll just explode. Other days, you'll be able to actually watch it and go, oh, I see that. You know, I can see that coming up, and you let it pass, and it's no big deal. Day after day, usually, you will have to meet those egoic tendencies. You know, and it may not be like real strong hatred or anger. It may be insecurity, where, let's say, you're just not able to speak up for yourself because you're afraid that someone's going to get upset at you. That's a good fear. That's many people don't overcome in a lifetime because it's too hard, because they never spoke their truth. That's a good example. Also maybe greed. Let's say a person who's always chasing after money, always wanting to get more money because they feel unsafe and that there's not enough. That sort of hungry ghost syndrome could last your whole life, that kind of fear, the money consciousness. Money consciousness is, you know, considered kind of one of the quote-unquote lowest fears, of afraid of not having enough money. That's why a lot of people, spiritual people who are really serious, their bank account gets dropped down to almost zero to see how spiritual you really are. Because can you live with, you know, $1,000 in your, or, you know, whatever, $1,000, 1,000 rupees, whatever country you're in your bank account, and still be stable, still be sound? Or are you going to be constantly worried every day, I don't have enough, I do not have enough, I need to struggle, I need to get more, I need to get more. It's like, literally, some people will go through their whole lifetime in that mind state and never be able to touch into spiritual energy, because that's their block.